That's right back, Charlie.
There's always just that active red flag defending. I think it's like there's always just that active red flag defending. I think it's like
People, deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian. Come on. I mean, the big man Ian Wright just said it best. People, deluded, I'm back again. Appreciative to you lot on Twitter, Twitch, or YouTube. Again, if you're on YouTube, smash the like button. Make sure you're subscribing. If you're on Twitch, make sure you're following Amazon Prime. Twitter, make sure you're cross-following as well. Make sure you're following on everything. I hope you lot are doing well and safe. I say this is the first proper day of 2024 because it's normal service resumed now. Christmas, New Year's, all of that stuff is done. But the show must go on. Appreciative to you lot tuned in and you lot who have been regular supporters of my content in 2023. 2024, let's keep it up. Let's keep going, man. Journey to 70k subs is alive and kicking. As usual, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and in some cases, good night. As you lot know, it's the transfer windows open, silly season, hella rumors, 98% of it is BS, but nonetheless we'll go all through it. We've been linked with Curtis Jones, Reece Nelson could be going to West Ham, Ivan Toney rumors won't go away. So yeah, it is what it is. And again, I released a video today, people. Make sure you check that out. And I've actually had a busy day, man. I've been up and down Old Street, Liverpool Street. I actually went to Arsenal because obviously I'm in the process of, I like to do the monthly reviews, and I thought, you know what, I'm right next to Arsenal. Why don't I just go to the Emirates and shoot 1-2 bits and pieces of footage, people? So yeah, and obviously live now. So yeah, man, big up you lot. Please no Curtis Jones. I'll take Curtis Jones in a heartbeat. Two very different conflicting reports. I personally, or opinions from you lot, but this is why I welcome opinions. No one's right, no one's wrong. Like life, football would be very boring if we all felt the same way. For me, with Curtis Jones, I've seen them links before, so there must be something in it. But in his case, I like his attitude. Like he plays with that chip on his shoulder. I think we need a couple dons like that. Obviously, he's very different to Saliba, Gabriel, Declan Rice, and even to a degree, Jesus. I like his mentality, really and truly. I think Curtis Jones really typifies, that Anfield spirit and Liverpool, all of that sort of jazz, really. Obviously, he's English. Obviously, he can play as an 8, can play out wide. He's, pardon me, not the oldest of players, relatively Premier League proven. He's been in and around the Liverpool side when they were accomplishing what they're accomplishing, so he gets it. I think he's got a very high technical level. I must admit, the Curtis Jones I've seen in the youth sides at first team at Liverpool, I think he's taken to the first team like a duck to water, but I still think there's many gears to go up. Whenever I think of Curtis Jones, and he's very good at set pieces, wonderfully gifted technically. When I think of Curtis Jones, I always think back to, I'm sure a few years ago at Boreham Wood, where Arsenal's under 21s or 23s at the time, whatever they were referred to as, Curtis Jones played against Hector Bellerin and he terrorized my man, if I'm completely honest with you. Do I think Curtis Jones moves the needle and makes us think, rah, what's going on here? No, I don't. And it would be a bit bewildering because he's obviously he would kind of fit in with what Mikel Arteta is kind of doing, in that you've got multifunctional players, Trossard, Havertz, Jesus, technically Martinelli, Kirill to a degree, left back and right back, Zinchenko, Timber, Tomiyasu. Focusing on midfield for now on paper, Emil Smith-Rowe, Fabio Vieira, they can kind of all play in a bunch of roles. So I can see why there'd be an admiration. But assuming we sign Curtis Jones today, I'll be happy about the signing because it's another body and a midfield body. And if that's what Arteta wants to do, that's what he wants to do. It's a bit like, not really to the same degree as Kai Havertz, with the greatest of respect, smash the like button, but it's not one that makes me feel, oh, you know what? We've gone up a gear, or, in the same way, Saliba coming back and being integrated. Declan Rice, obviously, whatever you say at the time, Jesus and Zinchenko, they did help, up the levels. I don't know if Curtis Jones, if we signed him right now, if I'd feel that sort of way. And Curtis Jones is at that point in his career, what are you? And I have to see why do you want to leave Liverpool? Is it a lack of game time? Obviously, Arsenal were doing this youngster thing. Leaving Liverpool for Arsenal isn't the worst of things. Both teams are kind of in the same climate. So it'd be interesting, man. Now I'd rather get someone like Elanga from Forest. Two very different sorts of players, though, man. Very different. I think you're being a bit harsh to Curtis Jones, if I'm honest with you, man. A man said, okay, a proper live, let's go. Social joins. What do you mean by that? What does that mean? What does that mean? Don't judge me for drinking Coke, people, by the way. We all got to die sometime, and I was thirsty, and to be fair, I finished my water. I had one of these, so I thought, let me grab it. Jones would be a lazy signing. What do you mean? I thought Curtis was replacing Nelson. My bad. And even that's another thing. Obviously, he can play out wide as well as a couple of other roles. Big up Gary, because you're always here. I actually like Curtis Jones. He's decent all-round midfielder. I watched him last night, and he was quality against Newcastle. He's underrated. Can't see Liverpool letting him go. Neither can I. And what sort of bread would you want? And when you look at Liverpool's team, obviously, in the last few years, they've brought in players that time is kinder to them. You know, Diaz isn't the oldest of players. Darwin Núñez isn't the oldest. Gravenberch has come in. Gakpo has come in. But the vast majority of their team are what I would describe as players for the Canate as well. Players for the present. And what I mean by that is literally for the present. You know, Alisson's a keeper and he's got many years. Van Dijk is still here. You know, Matip is in and around the team. Mohamed Salah's there. You know, they've obviously let Fabinho, Mane and Firmino leave. But he's kind of part of their future. Him, Harvey Elliott, Fabio Carvalho, and probably a bunch of others in and around there. It does make me wonder, would they really let him go? Are they really looking to let him go? I doubt the credibility on it. Osman all day long. Would love the guy, man. Would love the guy. Pick up yourself, S, for tuning in. Would love the guy, man. He said proper live social, man. What does that mean? Keep playing out of position and people wonder why we struggle. Imagine if we bought a Frimpong or Kelmando. Frimpong's got a release clause in the summer, really. And you have seen, well, in the last 2 weeks or so, Arsenal, to be fair, the way we're moving is like between January and probably the summer, we need a whole new team. You know, there's rumors coming out that Mikel Arteta wants 2 midfielders. He wants 2 fullbacks. Evidently, we need a striker. I don't know if the club will sit there and bring in a striker and a wide man, because they might say, you know what, Jesus, Trossard, Havertz, Nelson, if he's still here, and we'll get onto him, that they might be able to cover a role, really and truly. Judging you drinking Coke with my bottle of Coke, thought Curtis, you're a funny guy, Ben. You're always here as well. Though Curtis may be for the bench, but he wouldn't really improve the first team. One love, everyone. He screams a set off Conor Gallagher. I don't think it's the kind of profile we need. I wouldn't be against it. As I said, I don't think Curtis Jones moves the needle, but I think he's a decent player. And even Conor Gallagher, obviously, I would like, you know, someone to replace Partey if Partey's not there, to line up with Declan Rice and Odegaard and things. But I think generally having someone like Gallagher, at least for this season, I wouldn't be against it. If he could take like Jorginho or El Nene's role in the team, I'm for that. I think we need another number 6 to have the ability of playing someone with Declan Rice or being rested instead of Declan Rice, really. And obviously he's English, he's homegrown. We've worked with Chelsea before. I'm by no means saying we need to get Conor Gallagher, but it seems like his days, to a degree, could be numbered at Chelsea. You did a super short live on the first. I got there super late. Thought it was a premiere, but we're here now. Let's cook. Big up yourself and apologies for that, man. You know, you lot are treating me like Bukayo Saka, man. I was there for I swear I was there for an hour or 40 minutes, but I appreciate it, social, man. And again, another one who's part of the furniture. Appreciative for all of you lot supporting 2023. Hopefully it continues, man. In the game at Anfield, they brought on Curtis to help regain control in centre mid, and it worked. They dominated the ball against us last 25. They were the team looking most likely. Klopp is no fool. Big up yourself, Happy. Hail DG, excellent commentary as always. You feature alongside Clint Eastwood on this. Hope you enjoy. Yo, guy, what a guy, man. And let me actually click that link that you sent. Why is it not showing up on? Why is it not showing up? Because obviously on StreamYard, I can't click links. Oh, there we go. I'll take that in. Let's mute that because we don't want to. We don't want to get demonetized. I'll take that in when the stream's done, my dude, man. But yeah, big up you lot. Keep your thoughts coming. We need 2 strikers. I disagree. 2 attackers, but I wouldn't say 2 strikers. And listen, if we was to wake up and have, you know, Gabriel Jesus, another striker and another striker, that guy that's going to get 15, 20, 30 goals in the Prem / all comps, I'm all for that. I'm with that. But I wouldn't say we need 2 strikers. 2 attackers. If you could get me a wide man, and if you could get me a striker, I'm all for that, because, again, it does feel like, obviously, when you're looking at the rebuild Arsenal have done, I've got nothing but admiration for Mikel Arteta and the players, and even the players who have left that in their part help get this football club kicking again. But, you know, if we look at last season and this season and forget about, you know, how we had to go back to basics and just judge it on the title aspiring side, I think there's more questions than answers. I think fine margins have, you know, we need to realize that we need to go and get that. I think there's question marks over depth. I think there's question marks over first team regulars. I think we've gone back a level defensively based on the last month we've seen. Obviously, goals win games, and on the face of it, we've got 30 odd. You could say goals are not a problem and goals are shared out, but when you look beneath the surface, I think everybody honestly knows Arsenal need a striker that is going to get 15, 20, 30 goals or whatever, turn some defeats into draws, some draws into victory, ultimately get 3 points. I think our game management needs to go up another gear. I think there needs to be other ways of playing. And I think we're, again, just off the premises of fighting for a league title, I don't think, it's not that it's not fair, but I think it's unrealistic to expect Saka and Odegaard to turn it on all the time. If them two players are not at it, we're in trouble. You know, Gabriel, Saliba and Declan Rice, you know, they're some of the names that typically are a level above all their teammates. We can't expect that to happen because they will have bad games. And at some level, if you're always up here and your teammates are down there, naturally you're going to drop a level if they're not going to come up, really. I think there's a lot of issues that need to be sorted on the training ground. And there's a lot of things internally Arsenal need to fix up. Dropping points from winning positions more often than not this season as well. Fulham ×2. Obviously, you look at Spurs, and actually, it wasn't winning positions, but Chelsea on the basis of, you know, we took 77 minutes to wake up. I think there is a lot there, but I also think it isn't realistic. Like, it's like Liverpool and Man City have guns. We've got blunt knives or half sharpened knives. I'm not criticizing Martinelli. I love the guy, but he's learning the tricks and the trades of the game. This is why I said in August, it wouldn't surprise me if he scores double figures again, or if he doesn't. Last season was his first standout in that regards. Odegaard the same. I could be wrong, but let's just say that's close to 30 goals between Odegaard and Martinelli instantly out the team. Saka does the business, but again, he's not Mo Salah. He's done it for the last few years, and he probably will do it again. He's got 6, 2 were penalties, not to discredit, but there's that. So when you look beneath it, who's really bagging the goals? Up until he obviously bagged against Fulham and Bukayo Saka, he was tied with Eddie Nketiah as our top goal scorers. As someone who loves Haylen, to see them boys both come through the academy and do that, and whatever they're doing, I've got nothing but admiration. But in December, well, January now, but in December, our top goal scorers had 5, 6. It's unacceptable. That is not the clinical nature of a team that is going to fight for the league, really and truly. And I just don't think we have the depth to cope with certain players are not there. I like the trajectory we're on, but it is beginning to feel like an opportunity missed this season so far. And also, pardon me, and also last year. The one thing I would say is, you know, we've given ourselves a floor. You know, again, this is why I always say a week is a long time in football, let alone 19 game weeks, which they've been. Think about, even if you support Arsenal or any other club, look how many, there's been 19 weeks of football. You know, and then I'm talking specifically Premier League. If you want to add in all the comps, think about it. Think about the talking points we had from August all the way to December. It's a lot. It's a very long time, really. And when you look at the sentiment that is said, you know, Spurs are going to be in trouble. You know, Man City are throwing it all away. You know, Arsenal, it's all doom and gloom. I'm not saying we're going to win the title, and I don't look at the league table, but just based on doing the mental maths between myself, everybody is still in and around the same kind of thing together. Nobody's pulled away, and that's really, obviously you can't win them all. You're gonna lose some. You're gonna make mistakes, but that would be the thing I'm a bit angry about. In that, as I said, you know, I still think the problems that have led to our demise in December were there when we won games, not killing games, not taking chances, you know, not pressing with the same intensity. You know, we kind of got away with it against Brentford and Luton and these last minute draws and equalizers and all of them sort of things. And our luck kind of has run out, and we've run out of steam in that regard. So we just need to keep going. And I don't feel it can be accomplished without doing something in the transfer market. The scale of what I would like to see Arsenal do in January, it's not obtainable. Of course, I would like the household names. Who wouldn't want Zubamendi, Douglas Luiz, Vlahovic, Osimhen, Pedro Neto, Ivan Toney, all of these guys? Whether it's realistic to bring them in January is another thing. And if you can't do that, you need to find players that might not be household names per se, but they can do a job. Everybody's got to start somewhere. The minute the window closed in August, I refuse to believe that Mikel Arteta and Edu thought that we had enough, and the work needed to start towards January, really. So we'll have to see, man. I'm for it, though. Big up DG. I don't see Villa letting him go, but we need to get a player like Luiz from Villa, a player he is strong in midfield and maybe another centre defender. As I was saying, I think that's a summer thing. Obviously, you know, if players are not available, you make them available. But it's almost unrealistic. Maybe in the summer with Douglas Luiz's contract relatively winding down, with obviously having more time to source replacements and things like that, you could get a deal. But if you're, especially as we know, everybody's got money in the Premier League, it's gone away from value. There isn't too much value per se. You have to be able to overpay, especially when a player is vital to their team. You know, if you're Aston Villa, you're probably saying 100 million in January. Ivan Toney, we're seeing 80 to 100 regardless of his contract. Zubimendi's got a release clause, but unwillingness to leave Sociedad at the moment. And just about any of those kind of players that we hold in high regards, or football fans hold in high regards, it's a madness. Salute DG starting the likes like this. 2024, come on, guys. 84% of 38 is more than 2 or 3. Appreciate that. Get on to them, man. Curtis Jones to Arsenal is wild. He's the first name on our team sheet in midfield right now. Klopp's been moulding him for years, and you lot are saying you take him if he improves. He's a scouser. Josh, I don't know about that. I'm saying I've been talking up Curtis Jones's praises, really. I like him a lot. I can't see him leaving. I don't think he's got any real need to leave Liverpool. But if there is a willingness to get a deal done, fair enough, man. No value, no vision. Bring in the academy youths. Firmino on loan would be a good move, but with Liverpool in the mix, psychologically, would he be fully committed to seeing Arsenal win the Prem? I mean, if I'm Firmino, I'm not going to be against maybe going back to the Premier League and all of that sort of stuff, but you've accomplished everything at Liverpool. You're getting a bag in Dubai. There's no need. But if there was some sort of way of getting it done, I'm all for that. Need 2 strikers, though. Injuries happen. Rotate them. Lots of games. 2 attacking creative midfielders. And an effing unacceptable. Personally, I like someone who's a proven goal scorer like Victor, but the question remains for anyone. Toney did 20 plus last season, but a striker today usually don't do that today. I just think we need a guy that's going to bag, man, if I'm honest with you, man. Firmino on loan, I wouldn't be against it, but is that just a question from you lot, or is that the latest new rumours and that? I'm not feeling the Toney thing. I take Boniface or Penda, Martinez or Vlahovic over Toney, and none of them would cost 80 million. Higher ceiling, younger, and more suited to our style. To be fair with you, I think Boniface is costing around 80. I think Lautaro Martinez looks like he's signed a new deal at Inter. I'd love him, but he's probably definitely going to be over more than 80 quid, especially, you know, it feels like if not in January, in the summer, there's going to be a bit of a merry-go-round. I feel like with the goalies and all these strikers, when one guy moves, then there'll be a lot, really. And I don't know with Vlahovic, he could be on the move. I don't know with Sesko, because he's not getting first team football. You'd imagine Toney will not be a Brentford player at the start of next season. So they all cost a lot of money. I'm on all of them, you know. My first option would be Osimhen. Who wouldn't love that? Then I think he'd need, you know, I think if you signed Ivan Toney and them kind of strikers, I think they would more impact us immediately. But I personally would explore Osimhen if we could get that. Based on the fact that Mikel Arteta aggressively tried to sign him, I would revisit Vlahovic personally. I've got an appreciation for Martinez, but unless you put the bread down, that isn't going to happen. Then I like the looks of the Bonifaces, the Seskos. Ivan Ferguson's going to cost, you know, probably be a record sale from Brighton when he moves. So, yeah, man. My full list: striker, winger, midfield, 2 defenders. In brackets, Kirill and Tierney are not making it. I would love Tierney to be recalled. We kind of covered that, but it's a myth, man. My B striker list is Osimhen, Vlahovic, Sesko. That's it. So I'm with that. Apparently, Inter are in bankruptcy, so they might be selling their players. I mean, if there's a willingness to get it done, bring Barella as well. But because you said that, that probably means in the next couple of days and weeks, we're going to see a merry-go-round of Arsenal being linked with Inter Milan players. It's really not an Arsenal transfer window if we're not linked with Denzel Dumfries as well, if I'm honest with you. We need a proper fullback. I'm not going to lie. We probably, if you know, ideally, I would love to sign someone like Timber and Tomiyasu that can play all across the back line. If I was to scrutinize defense or the defensive body that we need in January, in my opinion, we probably need another centre half, you know, because if anything happens to Gabriel Saliba and issues, I must admit, maybe it is very reactionary and it's more based on how we've ended December. I personally would like a fullback. If you can find someone that can play on the left and the right, great. If that's a centre back that can amicably play at fullback, like an Ake of City, for example, I'm all for that because, you know, I like Zinchenko, but there's certain conditions for that. I think Benjamin White, you know, he started the season very well. And since he dyed his hair and came back from his injury, smash the like button if you're on YouTube. Big up the Twitch and Twitter ones. I don't quite think he's been there. And I just think we need more from our fullbacks, if I'm honest with you. Like I like Benjamin White, I like Zinchenko, But I wouldn't say I'm seeing the invertedness from Zinchenko. It does become a bit predictable with Benjamin White. I just need a bit more from our fullbacks, if I'm honest, because when our fullbacks are not offering much, our wingers are isolated. I don't think Havertz, Rice, or Odegaard are playing bad, but I think there's something missing, which I don't know in that midfield. Up front, we're obviously not bagging. Defensively, we've dropped off a level. This doesn't sound good. And ultimately, football is about keeping balls at the back of your net and putting balls in the back of your opponents. So, yeah. Would you sell Zinni in the summer if an offer for 20 million came in? Nah, not 20 million, if I'm honest. I'd keep Zinni as part of the squad, but I don't really want to see you playing big games and all of that. Or when you're playing the Liverpools and the West Hams and the Kuduses and the Salahs, when the sun's shining. And there's obviously been big games Zinchenko's done well in. And I actually think he has improved defensively, statistically, and just how he's played. But Zinchenko's defensive skills on the floor, he's taking up to here. This is good enough. This is where Zinchenko was. This is where he is. That's where good enough. And again, at some point, with Zinchenko, a man's 26, captains his country, been at Manchester City, played a shit amount of games, pardon me, in his professional career. You're not going to, at some degree, you have to accept man for what they are. I'd love to wake up and see, the way we talk about Zinchenko, we talk about him defensively. It's not going to happen. It's like Gabriel Jesus. I'd love for you to score goals. I want to give him all the support to do that. But since you've been in the Prem, you've been mentioned for other qualities other than goal scoring. So let's just accept that for what it is. Find someone that has strengths that are his weaknesses, and then we keep it moving, really and truly. Because we can't really be surprised when the same things keep happening, if I'm completely honest with you. Man said, so the moral of the story, don't dye your hair, please. But hey, I don't know. Saka dyed his hair. He ain't been the same. Ben White dyed his hair. He ain't been the same. Just stick to what we're doing. Recall Nuno Tavares immediately. We need an edge. No. Nuno Tavares is better than me. But if we're getting to that, I'd rather play for Arsenal and get destroyed than see Tavares. At least I got some effing heart. I'd rather play Havertz at left wing back than Zinni at this point. To be honest, he has the ability to be physical and more creative. Would we really say? I hear you, but you would really say Havertz is more creative than Zinchenko? I'm not too sure about that one, man. I think a striker would help, but like you said, when we played Fulham, it's the same players trying to make things happen. We definitely need more from other players as such as fullbacks. And I think every playing, in fact, the manager, everybody's got to forgive themselves for the mistakes, pat themselves on the back for what we've done well, and get back on it. Anyone that feels sorry for themselves within this Arsenal team, go home and stop playing the football. There's a 38-game calendar. You thought it was all going to be rosy from now to August, that despite the injuries and us making games hard, we're sticking along. It happened. You've seen Chelsea, Man United, Spurs to a degree, Newcastle at the moment, City even. They've all found blips at this point in the season. And obviously we've had, we've taken a couple hits. That wasn't going to be something that wasn't going to affect us. How do you get out of this now? How do you get out of the rut? Cool. You embarrass yourselves against Fulham, lost against West Ham. Didn't do what needed to be done against Aston Villa. Make peace with it and keep going. We will drop points, but so will everyone else. When things are going great, don't get too excited. When things are going poorly, keep your headspace. Our attack is pants. We don't have enough variety in attack, and no direct striker that runs in behind makes us predictable. I hear that. William ran past Ben White like he wasn't there the other day. Ben's been good for us, but his recovery run was unacceptable. I was shocked he didn't even try to catch up to the 36-year-old. Can't lie, vexed. Gary, you're not alone. And for me, it's more speed or thought. Like, that was something that was annoying me against Fulham, because way before they even got their first goal, they were attacking this, not even necessarily the spaces that our fullbacks were leaving. To be fair, Saka lost the ball. Ben White tried to counter-attack. It happens in football. We got lost on the transition, but they were attacking the spaces in behind. And I think Ben White on occasion, definitely Kyrgios, he's not looking over his shoulder. Again, I understand he's not a left back by trade, but whether you're a centre back who's playing fullback, there's some tricks and trades of the defensive game that should still be there, like awareness, really, if I'm completely honest with you. With all that experience, Zinni getting cooked occasionally is becoming acceptable. No way. Been the guy. If you can't improve, let him go. I hear that. I think getting the striker gets you a few extra goals, but only papers over the cracks, and 8 needs to be the priority. And again, that's the thing. When there's no, I must admit, from our midfield, cool, Declan Rice brings the steal, but there's that 8 that wants the ball, that Santi Cazorla, that, let's just not even say 8, that Santi, that Cesc, that he didn't play there, but that Ozil, someone that wants to dictate the tempo, someone with a bit of guile. We need to fix that. Or if Arteta can't source that, fix that internally, really. A part of me does feel, obviously Odegaard is the conductor in the team, but a part of me feels, would it be worth putting Havertz in the 10 and Odegaard in the 8, only because, Odegaard does well in terms of leading the press and being a part of the press. Havertz can do all of that. I don't think Havertz is like Granit Xhaka. I don't think he wants to get on the ball like that. It's not even that he don't get on the ball, but That's not his game. His game's about making those third man runs, neat little 1-2s. He's not really about like that. And as much as I think we miss Xhaka, and I know he wanted to leave, but I would have kept him definitely for this season. I think a lot of being done is because we haven't, you know, Xhaka is great, but it's hardly a Pirlo. It's hardly a Patrick Vieira. Like he's not that guy. I think we're more waffle about him because of the knock-on effect, if I'm completely honest. And as much as I like the transition that Mikel Arteta has took us on, if I'm praising you for all of this, if our strikers aren't scoring, if we've gone back to basics, we need to go back to the basics defensively. If I've got question marks about central midfield, if I've got question marks about the depth, I have to ask questions of the man that assembled the squad. Arteta, you show me you can rebuild. You show me you've got the tactics. You can do things. You show me you'll make difficult decisions and whatnot. And obviously, I want to win major honors. I'm not saying give a man time for no reason. But now it's about, can you bring us to a league title? Yes, I think most normal Arsenal fans, City are a problem. There's money, there's a lot of things. But I think regardless of when you talk about other teams and what they're doing, we have this element of self-capitulation when we've not held on to leads, when we've not started well, when we've not, more so in December, it felt a bit like the West Ham and Liverpool games last season where, and even you could say Fulham, where we start well, even Liverpool this season and last, people to echo the point, is that we start well, we're good for about 10, 20 minutes. And then it's like we're up here, and then it's like, oof, we're like that. And then you've seen that lead to our demise, really. There's so many things internally. Ultimately, a team's a reflection of the manager. When things are going right, and I'm not scapegoating Arteta or anything, when things are going right and I'm sitting here waffling about the manager, I have to keep the same energy. It can't always be the players when things have gone wrong. Even though I don't blame Mikel Arteta for Aston Villa. I don't blame you for Newcastle. There's definitely another defeat there. Villa, Newcastle, at West Ham. I don't blame you for that. I do blame everybody, including the manager, for Fulham, because what the hell was that? And again, I genuinely think in games like that, with the personnel that has to be deployed, or the lack of options, or when a couple of players are not on it that we typically need to be, Arteta's indirectly made that mess. You signed up for this in August, really and truly. Like, how much time are we going to watch the same movie and be surprised by the same ending? It's boring. He's been 4 years in. At what point do you start looking at Arteta? Mentioned it as well. I've mentioned it. Warren Zaire Emery would be lovely, but PSG would be smoking something crazy, people, to let him go, man. Not that Havertz or Rice have been bad, but I can't lie. I want to see Jorginho in the 6 and Rice do the box-to-box thing. Gonna have to look at stuff and address such. No, the striker does change everything. More chances are created. I would say more chances are taken. Yeah, some people are over-exaggerating. It's early days in the season. For example, last season we were top for 200+ days, but still didn't win. And I mean, the one benefit you could say, if it's all doom and gloom and it's over for Arsenal, smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't, and it's done and we've got no chance. Where'd you go from that? If nobody rates you, that should be liberating. If you've got nothing to lose and everything to gain, then get back with it. And at the end of the day, if the players are feeling sorry for themselves, get on with it. I don't care about that, really and truly. We're not here to make friends. As much as I like the togetherness, we're here to win games and ultimately trophies. Anyone that can't handle the expectation of this year, let's keep going. I do think the mentality and all of that jazz has changed, but whether it's the mentality and all of the street smartness and everything required to win the league title, me personally, I can't see it happening, and I have to be very pessimistic on such. Big up you lot, man. A man said, DG, you're a wicked man. Started the video saying he's quitting YouTube. Wait, you got to play the game a bit, man. You got to play the game. Sorry for scaring everyone, man. I ain't quitting YouTube. I'm here to stay. I think I said something like, I'm quitting YouTube. 2 sentences you'll never hear me say, or something like that, man. Listen, I'm doing a lot of research around the algorithm and all of that sort of stuff. So I thought, let me try it in this vid. My man's trying the thing, in it. Like, allow it, man. Like, don't worry. I'm here to stay. Baby mums, I'm here to stay, man. Like, I'm here to stay. I know your man, he's not doing what he needs to do. Valentine's Day is coming up. You're dropping hints. Shout me, DM me, Deluded Gooner 04 Brownings, all sorts. Let's go. A man said January tax, the only striker for cheapest Sesko. I'm all for that, man. You man are desperate. Colin Gallagher, Curtis Jones. Let's go for Souček as well. To be, you're harsh, man. I would not be. I think Curtis Jones is being slept on. I'm not against Colin Gallagher. I'm not saying that has to be the difference maker. But if you had Declan Rice, Colin Gallagher, and 2 wavy number 8s, I'll maneuver with that. I'm all in for buying players, but Arteta also needs to start coaching our players back to form. I hear that. And as much as I'm mentioning Arteta, I'm not being funny. These players need to pull it out. I do think the mentality's changed and whatnot. But if I'm honest, there's a lot of talking. For the vast majority of this season and last season, the talking was done on the football field. I'm seeing a lot of lip service now in the aftermath of games about we know we need to do better and all of that sort of stuff. Go and perform like such. Because again, the Fulham game is one of the worst performances for me, anyways. The worst performances I would say this season. Fulham definitely. West Ham in the League Cup 100%. Yeah, really and truly. There's no excuse for that. Like being competitive. You know, Fulham did everything that their manager. I don't think that. In fact, the manager, the Marco Silva, the only thing he could go back on in terms of analyzing the game would probably be how they conceded. They won their first and second balls. They were competitive. The fullbacks won the battles against our wingers. Their centre mids won their battles. Whatever their game plan was, they did it. They moved from defence to attack very well. We done none of such. Even the pressing, it's disjointed. And the problem is with a lot of our players, there's very few players you can bet on are going to play to a high standard for 38 games. And this is why I say accept it. I don't think there's many bad players in our team, but Eddie Nketiah is going to be great for 4 or 5 games. 38 games is a different beast. Reece Nelson, if he gets on the pitch, the same. Smith Rowe's probably in that bracket now, unfortunately. You know, the Kyrgios is hit and miss. Zinchenko is hit and miss. Havertz at the moment is it's a hit right now, but it's hit and miss because the jury's still out. How many players can you bet on, really and truly? For me, and regardless of form players that I would say I would bet on for a 38-game calendar, Gabriel, Saliba, Declan Rice, Bukayo Saka, to a degree, Martin Odegaard, Gabriel Jesus. Obviously, some of these players have evident deficiencies, and I'm talking about the squad because I do think Arteta, he takes guys that you might be able to get away with being squad players and you make them first team regulars, like with Eddie. And we're shocked that ultimately there'll be some good times. And I'm not disrespecting Eddie Nketiah, but when the going gets tough, you're not levels, really and truly. You're like, football is not Disneyland. It would be lovely if, you know, we won the title last year and these players go and win it again. And some of these players who we don't rate or don't believe in do it, but that's not football. That's not everybody can help us in the roles that they're at. If you want to hang around like a spare part, do your thing. Big up my guy AJ in the cut. Hey, my Killy, I appreciate you, my brother. Most of our goals have come from set pieces. Arteta needs to change something and bring in an 8. Bro, I'm not being funny, yeah? We should be sitting here and saying, yeah, we need a striker. But goals shouldn't be an issue generally. We shouldn't feel the way we do about our front three as we do now. And again, you know, the players need to pull up their pants and buck up their ideas immediately. But if we're saying Jesus ain't doing the business, Saka ain't doing the business, Martinelli ain't doing the business, Trossard ain't doing the business, every attacker ain't doing the business, they can all have question marks, but then I've got to look left and right and say, yo, I'll tell you what's going on. I do think generally we're creating more chances. I was very unhappy about that in the season and to a point. Now it's more about converting, which indirectly Arteta is a very analytical man, methodical man. We've seen plenty of examples for it and praised him. So logically, the other way now is what it is. Up until a week ago, we looked solid. A week is a long time in football. I think we really miss Partey. We do, but at the same time, like, it's like with Tomiyasu and Partey, again, staying with the theme of accepting players for what they are. Bro, these men are going to get injured. Like, injuries happen to anyone. I don't think we're signing a centre mid in January. So we need to glue Fabio Vieira to a seat so he can watch and replicate Bernardo Silva. Need a big second half of the season from him because I'm struggling to lose faith. I like Vieira. I think technically you're sound. I think you're cool with the squad. But it's now time to make progress. And I think with Fabio Vieira, up until he got injured this year and last season, it's like he's on the periphery of things. He might get an opportunity, does very well. He gets his chances, he takes them, he does very, very well. And then there's either an injury or it's reverting back to type. You know, go back to August. I'm pretty sure August, Eddie Nketiah and Fabio Vieira were 2 of our better players in the season, really. And that's what I mean. If you're looking to win a Premier League title, you need more confirmation over players. Like right now, I see Arsenal as a team that gets 70-odd points. Again, the way the season pans out, you might need more, you might need less. But for me, in August, we said it. You can go and check the archives on the channel. Big up you lot, he was there. You need to be looking at 90 points. 90 points is near enough perfect. That's 9/9.5 out of 10 even, really. And again, obviously, things are going to happen. But I just feel we're shooting ourselves in the foot and we need to address a lot of this, man. And you're right, set pieces is crazy. Stop acting like you spend money on gal. Depends which one, man. It depends which one, man. You know, if she's mine, then she can have what she wants, ish. But I think we've all been there. When Gally are going on fancy dates and things like that, and certain men are paying the most, and then they're linking you after. It's a cold world, man. I've been on both sides. Not like that, but I've been on both sides of the game. The game's the game. We just all got to know how to play it, really and truly. Defenders, you're taught to know where your space is and to come back when on the counter. Of course, 1v1 defending, but when our levels great on sunny, but on thunderstorms we're poor. Just show the level. I hear that. We're playing flat-footed. We ain't moving fluidly on the pitch. Not creating enough options for the ball to move. Arteta has to be blamed. He's got to arrest that immediately, like you said. We drop off in attack because of the lack of variety. We attack 95% down the wings. If you split attack in other areas, more chances get created. And yeah, and we find ourselves where left-hand side ain't really doing nothing. Right-hand side ain't really doing nothing, which that's normally our bread and butter. You know, again, I always say our first defender is Gabriel Jesus. Our first attacker is David Raya. I don't really see a purpose why we're playing out from the back. I think Declan Rice, Saliba and Gabriel, while they're all blessed with a football at their feet, none of them are paid to create and break lines. I'm seeing them have to do that a bit too much. I think the pressing against Fulham was terrible. Odegaard's doing it by himself. Go back and get back to basics, if I'm honest. Losing games while playing good football is one thing, but losing while playing dead football is effing unacceptable. Always said it there. Toney has always been doubted. He's put that chip on his, I think you mean his shoulder. He's got elite mentality. We'll show it when he lands. If he lands. I hear that, though. Keep the talking points coming. Of all the 30 shots we had against West Ham, how many tested Areola? We don't create enough big chances. That's why I don't think a striker makes a dramatic difference. I think it's a step in the right direction because we could take the half chances. But this is why I said at the start, I think there's many things that we need to arrest internally on the training ground, as well as buying players, really, if I'm completely honest. DG, when are you going to bring back a tier list stream? It banged last time. Give me some ideas around the tier list and we'll get that going, really and truly, man. Why not, man? Arteta was very honest. He said we were second best in all aspects of the game against Fulham. He was bang on. That's the only game I've seen where we got bossed totally. Man was proper peed off. I hear that. How do you think Oba would have done in this team? I think Oba, it's like a house on fire, if I'm completely honest with you. You know, as much. Do you know how many backflips and all them things we'd see with Aubameyang in the team? Crazy. Bro, Saka is an average winger with a good left foot. Never dribbled his man. I don't know if Saka's average. We're not accepting that slander. I think we're 13th in terms of goals from open play, which is crazy considering we're Arsenal. This is the issue. You know, well, maybe not so much this month, but at a point, a lot of the talking points at Arsenal was, oh, you know what, we're not doing it in the final third, but, you know, we're looking more solid in the middle and defensive third. Maybe Arteta is making us more street smart and more experienced, which I don't doubt. But ultimately, goals win games, and I'm sorry, that shouldn't be an issue. Arteta, you come from Spain, you've been grown up on that Spanish way of football. You've rubbed shoulders with Pep Guardiola. Big up Everton, but we'll disregard that Everton stuff. You know, been at Arsenal, played for Arsenal. That shouldn't be an issue. I know he's not Arsene Wenger, and I know Arsene Wenger had his issues, but to be fair, towards the end, but that was historically at Wenger's reign at Arsenal. That was never an issue, talking about creating chances and open play chances. And yeah, we had some fantastic players in Arsene Wenger's time, but we also had some, let's be honest, some fucking shit dons, and they were playing ball, really and truly. You know, I'm not saying he's a better manager than Arteta or anything, pardon me, but look at Postecoglou. Like, he's getting a lot more out of them Spurs players than people would have made out. And I do think Arteta's got a lot. I personally think Arteta, you need to understand you've taken some of these players to their limits. I don't want to keep mentioning, but Eddie, I think he could be a really good striker one day, and we might come to think, why didn't it happen here? But where this Arsenal thing is going, he's got to the limit. Zinchenko, in terms of being a first-team regular like that, you've got to the limit. Jesus, in terms of being the striker that we rely on to score goals, not all the other stuff that he does well, you've reached your limit. Jorginho, El Nene, you've reached your limit. Certain players that keep getting injured, you've reached your limit. And you have to ask questions. Yeah, Havertz has found his feet, but we're still talking about addressing midfield. I think Raya's had a good couple games, but I would hardly say we've seen the Brentford Raya. And even to be fair with Raya, apparently he's conceding more goals to shots faced. Now, that could be something internally that David Raya has to address, but that tells me we're not defending well enough. Really, I don't want to see my goalie. My goalie's the last line of defense. Never thought I'd say this, but I miss Xhaka. Without his overlap and inverted runs, Martinelli is left to hang on the wing, run down the wing and find a way to switch to Saka. Arteta, you played with JJ Okocha, Ronaldinho. You've seen lit attacking play. I can't lie, I can't accept this meaty ball. I've mentioned Arteta. Like, I don't know what more you want me to say about him. Everybody needs to go back to basics. Tierney isn't the answer. He's always injured, and I've seen him make as many mistakes as Zini. We'll be lucky to get our money back. Bit harsh. But he's not, you know, it's like asking a fish to climb a tree in it with Tierney. He's an organic, old-fashioned fullback. Arteta don't seem to want to play that. Tierney can't really do that, essentially. And he is another sick note. You are right. But to be fair to Partey and also Kieran Tierney, to be fair, last season they were the fittest they've ever seen. I would love to have Tierney in the team, but he's not going to be the Messiah. DG, I think Arteta must swallow his pride and bring back Toney because we're struggling. I mean, will Sociedad want to let his loan be ripped up? We'll probably have to owe them some money as well because we wouldn't have honoured our agreement. And if we're treading closely to FFP, why would we, sort of thing, man? So we'll have to see, if I'm honest. I still think Saka looked better when White was supporting him. You cannot be facing two players every time you get the ball and be expected to look good. This has to be addressed. It's true. I do think against Fulham, though, Saka's decision-making was horrible. Even that volley, like I think start of the season, Saka is clarting that goal in, but he funded over. I am getting a bit annoyed with Arsenal in that, you know, like somebody said, we had 30 odd shots, all that possession in West Ham's box, but how many of them efforts did you think, raw, Ariola had to do a madness there? Really, big up yourself, D. I hope you're doing well and safe. World boss, one love. Really. And I do think our players are overthinking, and it's bound to happen, you know. Again, I would love to speak to footballers, but I'd imagine when everybody's fit and everyone's in form and stuff, some of these goals you're not thinking about. You're just putting the ball in the back of the net. Equally, as an attacker, when your confidence is on the floor, are you overthinking too much about these opportunities? They need to arrest this. It would be nice to have wingers to that Saka and or Martinelli, 1-2 games, come off the bench or not play at all, get your headspace back and then go back in. And for me, with Mikel Arteta, you need to get wide men that you actually rate. You know, I don't know why Smith Rowe isn't getting minutes, but he's someone that can play off the left. You know, Martinelli ain't really been at it. Trossard ain't really been at it. You know, Nelson's played 87 minutes of football, despite the fact in the Prem, despite the fact he signed a new deal. And we all know Reece Nelson only comes on if everything's out the window, sort of thing, or the game's kind of to the end, or dead rubber League Cup games, or in the Champions League when we're kind of gone through, really and truly. You know, if you're not going to utilize Smith Rowe out wide, for example, or Reece Nelson, you might as well sell them and bring in some wide men, really, because I never really want to see Saka get sub. But there's been times, I'll be real. First time this season, I've said Saka needs to get hooked against Fulham. You know, it comes with the territory of this new look squad, but we're asking too much of players that are still learning on the job themselves to carry this team. We're looking at Saka to be our Mo Salah, and he is to a degree, but he can't do certain things. My question is, why can't we play Zinni in midfield? I have no clue. The only thing I would say is there must be something that concerns Mikel Arteta with deploying him in midfield. One thing I have no sympathy with Arteta is we all know Zinchenko and Tomiyasu are not going to be fit for the whole season, but we let Toney go and not bring someone else in. There we have it, man. When you see Tommy inverting, I'm sorry, but you know Arteta's lost it. To be fair, Tomiyasu's been doing that quite well this season, but again, Tomiyasu is probably one of our most conservative attackers, really. And Arteta has to address these things. It's with the gaffer. It's as simple as that. You know, you take the praise, you take the criticism. We're at 86 likes, people. We're flirting with 100. Appreciative to everybody who's hit the like button so far. Make sure you're doing such, people. And again, carry it on this theme. Keep your talking points, etc. coming. Let me roll up my sleeves because that's what I want my Arsenal team to do in January. And I'm getting a bit hot. The lights are killing me. Chocolate darling, that. Sammy Motebell of the Daily Mail has said on Arsenal and Ivan Toney, Arsenal are very, very interested. He is towards, if not at the top of Arsenal's recruitment list for a striker. Brentford will want between 80 to 100 million in January. Near impossible to do in January without outgoings. Now, who would actually leave? Apparently, we're going to get onto it, but Ramsdale's angling for a move. That would be decent. I don't know if it will make sense to sell Eddie Nketiah, Smith Rowe and Reece Nelson, but in terms of FFP as their academy product, that will be 100% profit. Not sure, people, but continuing with this, Ivan Toney wants Arsenal switch in January despite Brentford's 100 million valuation. I mean, if we don't make an asking price or give them an acceptable offer, it's got shades of Mudryk and Rafinha and Vlahovic. This is as far as it can go, really. Ivan Toney is hopeful of a move to Arsenal in the January transfer window, but Mikel Arteta's side have no intention of paying the 100 million asking price that Brentford have set. Rightly so. We understand the Gunners will outright refuse to pay that amount now or in the summer if a deal were to happen. There's more confidence that a move could be made this month, only below the B's valuation. He's got 18 months left on his deal. Hasn't kicked a competitive Premier League ball this season. Obviously, Brentford are also fighting relegation. At the moment, they're 4 points off the drop zone. Obviously, you're going to have to make it worth their while. I think in the summer, like with half the people are linked to, they would listen to it. Apparently, from Tony's point of view, sources claim that he wants to move to the Emirates above all others and would also prefer to go in the winter window. To the end, Thomas Frank and his paymasters have a big decision to make. There's also been some rumours he might get an extension at Brentford. There's the idea that if Brentford hold off until the summer transfer window, they could run the risk of losing the player for a lot less. I mean, you know you're not going to get 100 million for Ivan Toney. And they've also got injuries internally as well, and AFCON with their striking options. Pardon me. It's our understanding that Arteta wants to bring in Premier League proven players in January, experienced heads that can hit the ground running, rather than making signings from another league, then having to wait as the player settles in. I hear that, and it's not exactly the same, but Kai Havertz was bought from a Premier League club. He took a minute to settle. And even though I think Ivan Toney will hit the ground running, he has to be given the luxury of adapting to what Arteta demands of him individually and collectively for the team. Obviously, our way of playing. The fact that how fit is he really? I know he's back in training and stuff, but there's no substitute for playing games. We played 19 games. He played none of them. Are we going to get that Ivan Toney to hit the ground running? That Ivan Toney, if you type him in on YouTube, I don't know, people. So we have to see. I'm pessimistic on Ivan Toney, but I'll leave that to you. Allegedly, Arsenal have already made contact with Liverpool midfielder Curtis Jones ahead of a summer transfer. Mikel Arteta really wants to sign the player. So again, it just says we've made contact. We don't know. Well, based on that, we don't know if there's a willingness for him to actually sign for the club. We don't know if Liverpool actually would want to sell him. We don't know if, what him and his camp are asking in terms of, their terms, length of contract and wages, what that means really and truly. So apparently Arteta wants to sign a player. We'll have to see really and truly. Arsenal are expected to be without El Nene and Tomiyasu for the FA Cup clash against Liverpool. Don't think anyone counted on El Nene anyways. El Nene has already travelled to be with the Egypt squad for AFCON with the expectation that Tommy will leave for the Asia Cup on Friday. Can you delay it to about Monday, Tuesday, please? And Tomiyasu has said he actually wants the Asia Cup and AFCON moved to like the Euros and the World Cup played in the summer. On the topic of Tomiyasu, Arsenal allegedly are advancing to the final stages of negotiations for Tommy's new long-term contract with a salary rise. It's getting closer. Understand Tomiyasu will not leave Arsenal in January. He's 100% part of Arsenal's plans, despite links with Italian clubs. I'm not saying any of these Indonos do or don't know what they're talking about. It's just something for us to speak on, and obviously with it being the transfer window, everyone's got an opinion. Apparently, Aaron Ramsdale wants to move away from Arsenal this window. Goalkeeping coaches doing coaching in Spanish, and Ramsdale feels isolated and upset about the situation. He can't see himself getting back in the team and wants first team football to boost his England hopes. Arsenal don't want to sell. So whoever wants him, make us an offer we can't refuse. At Ramsdale, you might have to learn 1-2 calls in Spanish. And yeah, that ain't nice to hear if that is true, people. Romano has spoken as well on Ramsdale and said there have been further reports about Aaron Ramsdale and a possible departure if a big offer comes in. It's certainly the case that a big offer can always persuade clubs to sell players, especially if they're not starters like Ramsdale. But as of now, there's no big proposal on the table. The situation is still quiet. In case they will receive a big proposal, the situation could change. So no offers don't mean anything. Apparently, Arsenal, Liverpool, and Spurs have been looking at Dan Neil, Sunderland. They got a couple young players there. People being scouting him doesn't mean much. It just means we're looking at you and seeing if one day it makes sense to bring you to the club. Despite his young age, 22 years of age, he played 131 times for Sunderland. So I have to see. But if he's attracting interest, it means you're doing something right, isn't it, people? Apparently, Arteta ideally wants to bring in 3 players in January. People would have to see. According to the Times, Arteta is keen to bolster his floater inside with January reinforcements, and a new forward is one of 3 areas the Spaniard wants to address. So you'd imagine midfield is another one as well. But I think the striker will be our hardest thing unless we're scouting people. El Nene's been linked with a move away. Simon Jones of the Mail has said Mohamed El Nene is on the verge of a potential Arsenal exit, with the player subject of offers from Turkish-sized Trabzonspor and Besiktas. And there's also some reports that say Saudi clubs are back in. We've been linked with Osman Diomande for a while now, and them rumours won't go away, people. Allegedly, Arsenal have intensified their efforts to sign the Sporting Lisbon man. That's according to the record in relation to the 20-year-old defender, people. We're preparing the way for a proposal, and according to the newspaper, information will have an official in attendance at the Africa Cup of Nations to keep an eye on him. It seems they're not yet ready to make a move, but are planning one, a desire that could increase if their scouts send back positive reports from AFCON. So if that might be one to have any hope of the summer. Apparently, he's got 70, 80-odd million release clause, so we'll have to watch that closely, people. Apparently, Premier League clubs are showing interest in Reece Nelson, with West Ham being reported as one, people. I think we owe them for Declan Rice, innit? So yeah, that could be something. I was just reading this on the Standard, but I think it carried on this theme. Arsenal must stay within financial rules and need to sell before they can buy. It all depends on how we do our accounting, but For what it's worth, the club needs to stay within Premier League profit and sustainability rules and would first have to sell players to raise cash. Selling academy players in Nketiah and Smith Rowe would significantly boost finances, but Arteta has spoken about the squad already being short, so their exit seems unlikely. Ramsdale is another player who could be sold after losing his place to Raya, but his future is most likely to be resolved at the end of the season. That may mean Arteta has to look at the loan market for any external solutions. So, not really what you want to hear if you support Arsenal. Apparently, we're planning to go to Dubai for a mini sunshine break after next Sunday's FA Cup third round tie with Liverpool, but the dates are likely to be a little bit flexible in case Arsenal end up getting a replay and have to go to Anfield, which I don't think we want. I have covered this in a previous stream, people, but according to Football Insider, Mikel Arteta is open to letting Thomas Partey and Jorginho leave this month. I mean, if we can't bring in a player, what would be the sense of doing any of that, really? But fair enough. Apparently, we could even recall Kieran Tierney, according to this report, but it doesn't say anything other than the fact of Zinchenko's been injured, Tomiyasu's going off to AFCON, Kyrill's been inconsistent. It doesn't really. There's no real legs to the story, if it makes sense. If I'm completely honest, and if I'm Tierney, to be honest with you, it's not that I don't want to play for Arsenal or Mikel Arteta, but I know if Timo got fit tomorrow, if Tomiyasu weren't going off to AFCON, Kyril is going to be alongside me on the bench, and Zinni's going to play. I might play 4, 5, 6 games on the spin, and then I'm back to holding bench. I'd stay in sunny Spain, really and truly, if I'm completely honest with you. Once again, El Nene's on the verge of an exit, allegedly. The 31-year-old has made just 1 Premier League appearance this season, people. He did start in the Champions League and then got injured again. And you're a good guy, El Nene, but nice guys finish last. We're not here to make friends. We're here to win trophies. And for depth purposes, maybe could hold on to you into the summer, but we all know that's someone that should move away. Again, we can't watch this because it's on Sky Sports, but apparently Arsenal have been linked with Santos striker Marcus Leonardo. He's very raw, so he'll need to be fine-tuned. We've once again, according to reports, people been linked with Victor Boniface of Bayern Leverkusen, which I'm all for if we're going to take a chance on one of these lot people. 16 goals, I believe it says here, and he's still only 23. And also him being Nigerian means we can tap into the African market again. Apparently, we've got a 4-man shortlist, people, for strikers, which is Ivan Toney, Victor Osimhen, Lautaro Martinez, and Boniface. Out of all of them, you probably imagine between Ivan Toney and Victor Boniface, they're probably the most realistic, depending on offers. Osimhen has a release clause, but whether we're able to spend that 100-odd million is another thing. Lautaro Martinez, I just can't see it happening, if I'm honest with you. In relation to Pedro Neto, allegedly he's informed Wolves that he will not be seeking a move during the January transfer window. And apparently Manchester City have allegedly now entered the race and began talks with his reps, people. So we'll have to watch that one closely. West Ham are interested in Solanke, people, which wasn't he linked with Arsenal. David Moyes' Hammers have registered the most interest in signing him, we can reveal. As for Arsenal, who have also been credited with a supposed keenness to speed up the ex-Chelsea and Liverpool striker, we are told there's nothing concrete in those rumours at this stage. The 26-year-old's having his first standout season in the Prem, 12 goals in 19 appearances, really. So we'll have to see. Apparently, we've pulled out the race to sign Osimhen after we put pen to paper on a new contract. Disagree with that, but fair enough. And as you know, Eddie Nketiah is still linked with a move to Crystal Palace. I mean, we were linked with Andre, the Brazilian midfielder. Apparently, Fulham have suffered a setback, so I guess we'll have to watch that closely, people. Fulham are reluctant to meet the £25 million asking price for the 22-year-old. Eddie Nketiah has been linked with Crystal Palace. An initial approach has been thwarted by Arsenal, but allegedly they remain keen. And you know what, you might as well offer him to Brentford in relation to Ivan Toney, if I'm completely honest with you. Once again, Romano has offered something on Solanke. He said, some Arsenal fans are still asking me about Solanke after his fine form. I have no update on his future so far. It's still quiet. He's doing great, so he could be one to watch. But at the moment, I don't have any concrete updates to speak of. Personally, I really like Solanke, but I also think Arsenal need a top player in that position. Should they invest on a striker? It's not easy in January, so that appears to be it, people, really and truly. Should we? I mean, from I see Kylian Mbappe, I'm not involved, man. I mean, it's just all going to be Ivan Toney, man. It seems like Ivan Toney's the poster boy early doors for January, people, if I'm honest. So we have to see. With Ivan Toney, it looks like it comes down to money. I kind of want us to be linked with another name just to spice things up, man. It's the same old names again and again and again and again, people. So yeah, that appears to be all the transfer news. I agree with you, Gary, but when Raya had terrible performances like Ramsdale, didn't get a chance, but then again, he got a chance against Brentford and he was shaky. Also, I thought that was me. Chelsea are willing to pay up to 50 million for Ramsdale, then he's got a cut then, isn't it, really? Would be a shame if Ramsdale leaves, young for a keeper and a great personality, but we can get a good fee, you can't complain. But that's the thing, like, we already need to, bringing in a striker is another thing, but we already smashed the light button, people. We already need a striker, right? We already need a centre middle too. Need another defender or allegedly 2 fullbacks, according to reports. Do we really have time and resources and efforts to be looking for a second choice goalie? Yeah, fair enough. If when we signed Raya, we had to know internally that Ramsdale's days are numbered and been drawing up the paperwork for potential number 2s. If you can bring someone in January, fair enough. But who is going to be the keeper? Carl Hine needs to go on loan, if I'm completely honest. Prem proven is just a code for overpaying for Dross. I just think we don't pass through the lines enough, and I think it's due to our midfielders not being able to take the ball in the half turn. Odegaard does it sometimes, but not always, and Smith Rowe can, but he doesn't play. Not interested in Toney. He will turn into Lacazette, get a striker that runs in behind. The top goal scorers are those strikers. Tabs burning my eyes. We got through them, man. At least just one fullback that can play both sides, a proper number 8 in brackets, of which Kai can learn something from, and a striker that can jump and play as a false 9 would push the envelope further. I hear that. I'd be very surprised if Liverpool let Curtis Jones go. You're not alone, man. When Tommy inverts is for size, not to get pressed. Inverting is not just about passing, numerical territorial advantages. There you have it. And I think one thing that I found was interesting is actually when Zinchenko speaks about inverting. Arteta saw this coming, timber injury ruined it. Boy, I'm not saying don't expect more from Saka. I didn't say anything. Expect more from everyone. You shouldn't, if there's no expectations, shouldn't be at the club, man. I agree. We seem to be reluctant to have a shot when we get into the final third. I don't know about anyone else, but I ain't passing the ball if I'm 12 yards from goal. I'm shooting. We do look shot shy. You man got at me about Arteta not playing Pepe, but the issue was Arteta not maximizing resources. He'd rather burn Saka to the ground instead of rotate Pepe/Nelson in. Fair enough. I hear that. Why do we not look at players like Patino? He's on loan at Swansea, man. And to be honest with you, I would love Charlie to be part of the squad, but it's a next summer thing. You've committed him to go and play for Swansea. Let him play and develop away from the Arsenal noise. Let him just do his thing and keep making progress and see where he's at in the summer. Resources is a problem. Arsenal can want all the players but FFP. So when it comes down to who can get sold, we're going to have to do what we can, man. This is where Haylen could have come in handy with many of our left backs not available. One of the brightest prospects also could have been used if he was integrated more early in the season. I personally don't think he's ready, but I hear that. But then again, when are you ready, really? And what we've seen with certain people's performances might as well give them an opportunity, innit, really? If I'm honest, if I was young Waters, I'd be pushing for a loan because I'm not saying we have to play him, but I think he's at that point now where playing kiddie football ain't going to improve you. You need to go and be outside your comfort zone, playing against experienced players, having to put in good performances 3 times a week. But if I'm Arsenal, do I let Waters go? Even though he's not being utilised, I'm not letting him go until we bring in another defensive body, if I'm honest. And again, I'm not saying Waters is the be-all and end-all, but I think when people look at academy prospects, everyone's got to be a sexy player. Not everyone has to be Bukayo Saka. If we could, and what I would love to see Arsenal bring through some defenders. If you can get a calm, steady Eddie fullback that just does their job, then how much money does that save you? Look already, Arsenal have made a lot of bad choices. But look at developing Saka. We've saved probably 100 million, whether you rate him or not. Like, that's 100 million. Saliba, probably the best 27, 28, 29, 30 million. Gabriel, kind of the same. Odegaard for 30. It pays to do the right things in terms of academy and bringing in players. Martinelli, 6 million quid. We are getting to that stage now where I'm not a fan of spending for no reason, but we need to spend well and spend big. You need to get game changers like Declan Rice, although Mikel Arteta has spent money. Send Waters to Brighton. Don't think he's going to get game time like that. Why are we so restricted by FFP when we have suffered for years on years for that case? Not a clue, but probably a part of it is because we ain't been in the Champions League. That's why it's so important. Obviously, I want to qualify for the Champions League because we would love to one day win it and stuff. But unfortunately, qualifying for money's sake is something. So we probably need to keep qualifying for that. And obviously, we've given out a number of new contracts. You brought in big money additions with Kai Havertz and Declan Rice. I think a lot of people forget that wages have to be factored in as well. So we've probably been treading close to such anyways, really. But what I would say is where there's a will, there's a way. Bro, if Saka is at another club, bro, respectfully, you're going to get charged close to 100 million to sign Bukayo Saka, whether you rate the man or not. But yeah. A 6 months loans for Water could be a good idea. I really like him. I love how comfortable he's on the ball and his physical attributes. Needs to be outside his comfort zone. There's no point being a great academy product, not even saying necessarily him. If you're playing the same players you've been playing for years, you're faster, stronger than everyone. You make mistakes and they're not necessarily punished in the modern day. You know, if you learn how to swim and you're only swimming in waters that you can stand up in, you're not really going to see how good you're a swimmer, are you? Where if you jump in the deep end in the pool now, it's literally sink or swim, really. And I think that's where you have to go with young players. Obviously, you have to pick the right club and things, but that's where I think young players have to be. You know, if you've got a game on a Tuesday and a Saturday, you play great on the Tuesday, that's fantastic. But it doesn't matter if you go and lose on the Saturday. And you need to be environments where managers, players, everybody's fighting for their lives, which I don't think academy football is, if I'm completely honest with you. So be interesting, man. It'll be interesting to see, man. Be interesting. Let's be honest, DG, this manager is not the one who can take this great club forward. I think he has taken it forward, but if he's the man to win a trophy or a significant trophy, the FA, well, we won the FA Cup, the Champions League or the Prem, then that's your question. And right now, it don't look like Arteta is the guy, really, because it feels like we make 1 step forward, 10 steps forward, 10 steps back, then 20 steps forward, then 20 steps back. So there's movement, but there's not necessarily progress. And that goes for the players, for Mikel Arteta, and internally within the club now. It's about, I do think they want to win. I do think they want to push, but it's about really forcing the issue now. No one's going to give us anything in this life. We need to go and claim it, man, if I'm completely honest with you. So, yeah, man, that's just my thoughts. But what do I know? I'm just waffling on YouTube. We should bring back Gnabry ASAP. I'd take Gnabry back in a heartbeat, but it does look like he gets an injury and whatnot. Arsenal tax with those injuries as well. There's going to be issues, really. And I don't think they'll want his weight. They'll want to take on his wages. It's an interesting one, though, man. So, yeah, man. But on that note, though, people, we've been here for an hour. Got nothing more to talk about. I've enjoyed you lot's talking points, your conversations and all that good stuff, but I don't want to bore you lot anymore. Check out the rest of my content. Obviously, if there's any news and whatnot, you can rest assured that your notification bells will go off and I'll get videos out for you lot. Again, people, you know, I know we're all optimistic for 2024, but let's go out and achieve our goals really and truly, people. And I hope you and your loved ones remain in good health. I'll see you lot later and see you lot soon. Check out the other vids. Subscribe if you haven't. One love, people. Stay blessed.
Against this right back, Charlie, definitely.
There's always just that active red flag, defending. I think it's like